Good morning, everyone. It's Lee Henson, President and Founder of Agiledad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Up. So without any further ado, let's get started. It's Tuesday, and I wanted to pull something in special for Tuesday. I want to talk about 7 signs to describe whether you are an emotionally intelligent leader. So I thought this would be good for anyone at any level, but I think a lot of times we don't take enough time to talk about emotional intelligence and about how emotional intelligence works and about how it ties to our experiences and how it ties to who we are. So let's get started with these 7, because these 7 are really going to help you in your journey to really make sure that you have your focus around teams and around emotional intelligent experiences. So here we go. So number 1, you're able to articulate emotional experiences. So I remember as a child learning about expressing when you're happy or when you're sad or doing something silly or when you're mad. But sometimes even those could be difficult. But the question I throw to you is, how well do you articulate experiences that are more complex, right? Things that require you to really shift through your emotions and understand. And then on top of that, use the correct vocabulary. Now, this is interesting because I think a lot of times now, culturally, we've been tone deaf to what we say and how we handle emotions, in a form of road rage, for example, or in a form of being critical about someone based on their race or their religion or what's going on. You hear a lot of people in today's society talking about being woke and about different things along those lines. I guess what I'm trying to say is I feel it's important that we take off the blinders and not judge people and have bias or prejudice, but I also think it's important that we choose the right words based on how we really feel. And I think that's something that's been lost. So I think if you have a bigger vocabulary, it allows you to have a bigger arsenal of things that you can choose, right? So if you were to do a quick introspective to understand your own emotions and understand how emotions work in general, it's going to help you really make sure you're selecting the right words. So for example, you might describe something as being nostalgic instead of a little sad, or feel stress-related irritability rather than anger, which that cracks me up, right? Because it almost sounds like you're trying to be PC about everything that you say. But at the same time, I think that if you learn just how to articulate what's happening in your mind, it's going to help you pinpoint exactly what you're trying to say. So there you go. So that's good for number 1. Coming in at number 2, you can pinpoint strengths and weaknesses easily, including your own. So emotionally intelligent leaders are able to quickly discover employee strengths and weaknesses, and they aren't afraid to admit their own and talk about them. Everyone's good at different things, right? I'll tell you right now, one of my weaknesses, humility, right? I struggle with humility, and part of the reason I struggle with humility is because over the years I've been pretty good at most things I do. Now my strength is that I actually do recognize the things that I don't do well. It's just the list is small, and that makes it harder for me to be humble. And it sounds weird, but my strength is my weakness. And it's just one of those things that's hard for some people to overcome, especially if you have an A-type personality. So everyone's good at different things. And I've said multiple times in closing statements or in motivational sessions that I give that it's so important for us to find strength in others and to find others' talents and to find how it builds us up. Because I think that's incredibly important, right? Number 3, you're historically a good judge of character. And I think that's good. If you think about other people you've interacted with in the past, whether they're former team members from a sports team or former team members at work or personal friends or acquaintances, whenever you've had a good feeling about someone, it usually turned out right. Now, the truth is, you hear a lot of people say you can only make one first impression, but I'm here to tell you that sometimes first impressions can be deceiving because sometimes people plan on making a really good first impression, even though it's not who they really are, which is kind of sneaky. But if you have the ability to frequently choose reliable, trustworthy people to surround yourself with, they're going to uplift you and make you better. In a story about how Agiledad began, one of the things that I talk about is that I surrounded myself with really powerful people, with powerful coaches, mostly women. And what I found was that they helped me they filled in all the spots where I was lacking. And they made me look and feel even bigger and stronger than what I really was. And now, as my organization continues to grow, what I'm finding is that I'm continually a good judge of character, but it's helping me really embrace and understand how other people behave by knowing how my organization was built itself. So that's kind of cool. Number 4, people come to you for advice or support. I guess you can question yourself and say, how often are you the person that people come to when they need advice? When they're facing a tough problem, when life's not going their way, when things are happening? How many people come to you to support them when they're going through a hard time? How many people ask you for help, right? If lots of people do, that means they trust you and they trust that you're not going to judge them and that you're probably going to give them something valuable from an emotional perspective. So a sign of emotional intelligence is that other people can see that you're emotionally intelligent. I know that sounds crazy, but it's kind of true, right? Number 5, you can let things go. Now, this is one that took me a long time to nail, but I've got this one now. All leaders experience those moments of frustration, irritation, even anger, right? Where you're just like, but it's one of those things where how quickly can you move past whatever your initial thought is and get to the point where you're not holding on to grudges, where you forgive and forget, where you don't let the mistakes haunt you, or you work past them as quickly as possible. There have been many times where one of my coaches has gone in and made an error. And it's not a super costly error, but it's just something that I might not have said, or I might have handled it differently. And one of the things that I've discovered is that the quicker the coach rebounds and the quicker the coach discovers, hey, that was an educational thing, because that's how I'm going to look at it. I'm going to look at it as it was just part of your education. It was part of the learning experience. It was part of my investment in you. So now let's work past it and get to the point where we can do things better. And I think that that's going to help people really gather what they feel about you and how they feel about making mistakes. So I think that if they understand that failure is an option, as long as it's not life-threatening, then they understand that they can grow from the things that they learn. And I think that's incredibly important. So I guess I'm more like Elsa. I'm able to let it go, let it go. Okay, I won't do that anymore. All right, coming to number 6. You generally know how others are feeling. Can you tell when somebody's stressed out? Can you tell when somebody's stressed out when they're not even explicitly acting like, oh no, really, I'm fine? Yeah, that is a sign of emotional intelligence. And I think that sometimes it's not just that. Sometimes it's reading the room. It's knowing how people feel. It's giving people an opportunity to really coalesce and work together, or to get through those stressful environments and those stressful zones. And I think that once you get to that point, it's a sign of you showing emotional intelligence, because you kind of know where other things are. And then I saved the best for last. Number 7, you freely accept others' beliefs, work styles, and perspectives. Now, I was listening to, I want to say it was Simon Sinek, and he was talking about Nelson Mandela and why he was such a powerful leader and why everyone loved him. And anywhere you go in the world, Nelson Mandela is regarded as one of the greatest leaders. And the 2 things that he said he remembered as a child when he was going to tribal councils with his father was, one was that he said that his father always allowed other people to speak before he did. He never went in and said, this is my idea, now let's go around the room and talk about what you think. He would go in and he would say nothing, and people would start, and they would express their ideas and their concerns and what was going on. And even if he was invested or he thought it was a good idea, he would never nod yes or no. If he thought it was good, he would never nod yes. If it was bad, he'd never nod no. He would never give in to letting people feel like their idea was being judged immediately. And he would have an opportunity to listen to all the ideas before he formed his own opinion. And he was always last to speak. I thought that was really, really cool. So as a leader, sometimes being last to speak is a powerful tool. The second thing he said was that, and this is powerful because it's something I teach in all my Agile classes as well, is whenever possible, form a circle when you meet. That way you can see everybody eye to eye and there's no head or foot of a circle. And it just gives people awareness that everyone is equal in a circle and that we're not being judgmental. So the truth is, there's not one right type of person. There are hundreds of acceptable beliefs, acceptable styles, cultures, the way that we engage, the people that we are. And I think that it's important for us to get to the point where we're not judging based on race, creed, religion, sex, who you love, who you worship. None of that should matter, right? It's time for us to take off the blinders that have been put on us by media and others, etc., that say that we can't accept this or we all have to be the same. Because the truth is, the more different that we are and the more we embrace all these different cultures, the better we are. And I think that people forget that they try to make everything homogenized and they try to make everything the same and try to make everything equal. And while I do believe that each person should have equal opportunity, I don't believe that all things should be equal. Because if all things were equal, we would be just totally boring and plain and not good. Right? I mean, that's the easiest way for me to explain it. I think it's just important for us to really embrace different cultures, embrace different work styles, embrace different perspectives, get listening to what other people have to say. And when I say listening, I'm talking about active listening. Save the powerful questions for the end, unless they are questions to clarify. Clarifying questions are incredibly important so that you can gain an understanding of perspective, but never pass judgment on that perspective until you've heard all of the different opinions involved. So I hope this helped you. I hope this is helping you have a good Tuesday. What a way to kick off the week. 2 powerful episodes of the Daily Stand-Up. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care.